Hey guys, it's Pastor Austin, and I don't know if you know this or realize this, but this month, April 2020, marks 15 years since Pastor Trevor became the pastor at Hawk Creek Missionary Baptist Church, what we now call the Creek. And over those years, there have been several moments that have happened, moments that many of you got to experience and many of you haven't been able to experience. And what happens is, when we experience these moments in our lives and in the life of our church, those moments create momentum and they lead to a movement. And it's a movement that we're in the midst of right now. And I don't know if you realize you're in the midst of it or not, but if you are in the state of Kentucky, you're in the midst of a movement, what we believe to be a move of God, because we're praying and we're asking God to give us Kentucky, because we believe He's given us a vision for the entire state. And so what we want to do over the next several weeks is we want to share some of our favorite moments with you that have come from the past 15 years or so, maybe even before, and just some of the moments in the life of our church. And so I'm going to kick that off for our staff. And one of my favorite moments when I look back and think about the life of our church was a night of worship that we had, and we called it Through the Fire. And we had this night of worship for a very special person, a very special friend of our churches and of Pastor Trevor's. And he's a guy that I developed a friendship with over the years because of my relationship with Pastor Trevor, who introduced me to him, and that's Darrell Glenn Hudson.
I was born with forceful brain damage, has to do with coordination. And that means I can't, walk, get about real good. And I'm blind in one eye, and basically the doctor said I'd never walk, never talk, but I started walking when I was 5, and the doctors, that just goes to show the doctors don't know everything.
We had a night of worship, like I said, called Through the Fire, and it was specifically for Darrell Glenn, and so we let Darrell Glenn pick some of the music, and we made a video story about Darrell Glenn's situation. And for those of you who maybe don't know the story, Darrell Glenn developed cancer and was in the midst of battling that. And Darrell Glenn had just touched so many people's lives that it was incredibly remarkable.
He has just always seized whatever opportunity he had and whatever he could do to reach out further.
When social media came, his influence began to just explode.
He feels like this is what God's called him to do, to make a difference and to use whatever he can. He feels like, that the internet is his pulpit. That's his stage. That's his church. And I think that is what has led to his enormous influence.
So we wanted to do something special to honor him, and so we put together this night of worship, and we decided to do that video story about his situation and about what was going on, and really about his life, to honor him. And before I came to the Creek, I made videos. I was a director of photography and a filmmaker as a profession, and I've worked on, at least hundreds, probably over 1,000 video projects in my life. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt that making that video with Darrell Glenn is my favorite project that I've ever been a part of. And the reason that Darrell Glenn's story was one of my favorite videos that I ever got to work on was because we got the opportunity to take someone like Darrell Glenn, who has taken life on, has overcome many challenges thrown their way, challenges that were out of their control, and walked through life with a faith that produced joy, and someone who was not in the limelight, someone who was never really made public, so to speak, someone who wasn't going to get national attention or anything like that. But the incredible thing about Darrell Glenn was how he took his situation, and instead of complaining about his situation or feeling sorry for himself or wishing he was in a different situation and envying other people, he did something that I think is very, very difficult for us to do as human beings, and that is to accept who we are and to embrace who we are and leverage the gifts that God's given us to further His kingdom in the skin that he's given us. And I think so many of us aspire to be something more than who God's called us to be, or maybe not more, but at least a different version. We wish we could be like that person or this person or them or whatever. And we want to be the person that stands up and sings or stands up and speaks or, is in the limelight. But in reality, we're all players on God's team. We're all part of the body. And what Darrell Glenn was able to do was to say, hey, I'm willing to be the player that I am. I'm willing to be the part of the body that I am, and I'm willing to give it 100%, and I'm willing to go all out. And so Darrell Glenn took what God gave him, and he made the absolute best of it. And man, what an example that is. What an example that is for me. What an example that is for all of us. And so I was just so grateful to be able to be a part of telling his story. I mean, the guy basically becomes a local Facebook sensation because of his videos that he would put out, and he made all these contacts with all these pastors and would pray for them and encourage them. And I mean, he would text me like it would, at first it was like, man, this guy's blowing me up. Like when I first met him, he's like, he just needs somebody to talk to. But over time, and as our relationship developed, it became very timely when Darrell Glenn would reach out, and it was something that I began to really embrace and look forward to and love our conversations, whether they were through text, but there were times we spoke on the phone as well. But he would just do that. He would just reach out and he would just encourage people. He would pray for people. He would post something on Facebook that was encouraging, and I couldn't believe, it's unbelievable the amount of people who were watching his content and commenting. I mean, he would have hundreds of comments, people encouraging him and saying thank you, and it's truly remarkable. If you take the average person placed in Darrell Glenn's situation, it doesn't end that way. It doesn't equal that kind of influence. But Darrell Glenn was never going to settle for anything less than giving God 100%.
He sees it as it is. He knows what it is, but yet his faith gives him a stronger persuasion that hope is not gone and that there's always good that's going to come out.
I haven't felt the Lord lead me or anything through all this. I've felt Him with me, and I'm just relying more and more on Him and trusting Him to help me get through this. And He is going to heal me of this. If it's thought about heaving, into heaven, that's okay. Everybody that's prayed for me here and praying for me now, that means so much to me. It means the world.
Heavenly Father, we're just so grateful that.
But I think the biggest lesson that I'm taking away that Darrell Glenn taught me was just to be comfortable in the role that God's given you, and embrace that. And you don't have to be in the spotlight. You don't have to be number one. You can be the water boy. You can be the equipment manager. You can be the trainer. You can be whatever. And be okay with that. Be happy with that. Embrace that you get a part, that you get to be involved, that you get to do something, because the reality is that, man, we deserve to be in hell. We certainly don't deserve anything good, and God gives us all these good things and opportunities and abilities, and man, that's a blessing. And so Darrell Glenn was just such a huge encouragement to me and my life, and to our church, and I know to Pastor Trevor. And so the fact that we would take an event and an evening and just make it all about Darrell Glenn, boy, was that a special night. And if you didn't get to be there, things got rowdy. Things got a little off script.
Nebuchadnezzar and his men began to look in. And they said, did we not cast 3 into the fire? Because we don't count 3, but we count 4. And the 4th is likened unto that, the Son of Man, because not only will He bring you through the fire, but He'll get in the fire and He'll walk with you until you get through the fire. He's a big great God. He's a good God. And He's great. And He's greatly to be praised, even in the midst of suffering. Hey, get out here. I think we ought to sing one more verse. And of course, oh, you can do it, brother. You need an even if faith. But that's the kind of faith I want. Darrell Glenn, I think that's the faith you've got.
There was a power. There was a power in that place because of the weight of the life that Darrell Glenn had lived. I think everybody felt it, and you had a room of 800 or 1,000 people who were wishing they could be more like Darrell Glenn Hudson, who were challenged by Darrell Glenn Hudson, who were encouraged by Darrell Glenn Hudson. And from the outside looking in, people may have looked at Darrell Glenn and looked at everybody else in that room, and they may have thought, you know, well, this person has more success, or this person has more money, or this person, you know, they got to have a spouse and kids and all these things. But the other reality is the truth. The truer reality is that those people that on the external look like they had things better, look like they had it going on better than Darrell Glenn, were wishing during those moments that they could be more like Darrell Glenn.
I just all through this evening, I've just been convicted, just led by the Holy Ghost to just give this kid for the Lord. I've been trying to correct myself for so long, and I finally just give it all to Him. And that doesn't mean the Lord will be any less lighter, but I tell you what, He will carry you through. No matter what you're going through, He will carry you through. You don't think He will, but He will. Because right now I'm going through a desert right now, like Psalm 13 there. I'm not drifting away from the Lord, but I haven't done my quiet time and stuff like I should these last few months. And but I know that the Lord is still with me, and that He loves me, and that He's going to take care of me. And the devil's a liar is all I can say. He lies to. He tells me every day. He tells me every day that I'm messing up, but I just rebuke him and tell him to go away.
You know what the old time preachers used to say about him, don't you?
Yeah.
To hell with the devil.
Yeah. Amen.
That's where he's going anyway.
It was a very special night. Pastor Trevor got fired up.
Hey, Darrell Glenn, what I love about what you said on that.
Dalton sang Through the Fire, which is what we called the evening, and our team led with him, and boy, was that it something. It was it was full of energy. That was a song Darrell Glenn had requested, and so, you know, to sing that song, to sing Through the Fire with that group of people in that moment was like a surreal experience. Knowing the reality of Darrell Glenn's story, knowing the reality that he was facing death. I mean, the man couldn't even stand up during this event, and you're talking about a guy who didn't sit down. He was a guy who stood when people sat, and so that reality was there and was present. It was heavy, and to be able to sing that God was going to walk through the fire with us, regardless of our circumstances, boy, was that a powerful moment.
Just hold on, 'cause our Lord's gonna show up. Yes, He will, and He will take you through the fire again. Well, I know within myself that I would surely perish. Oh, but if I trust the hand of God, He'll shield the flames again. situation. It doesn't matter the circumstance. He's going to take you through. Woo!
Amen. Amen. We've done and gone off script. You know church is good when you get off program, right? Amen. Hey, if you're glad to be here tonight, say I am. I can't think of a better thing I'd rather be doing than be right here, right now. Yeah. Let me tell you what we're going to do. I just want you to remain standing for just a moment. In just a moment, I'm going to go down and we're going to pray over Darrell Glenn.
When you were around Darrell Glenn, you were different. You were different when he left. You were different when that encounter was over. You were challenged. The bar had been raised, and that's something that I'll always be grateful for. I'll always be grateful for Darrell Glenn, for his influence, and I'll always be grateful that our leadership took the time and the energy and the effort and the expression of love to say, Darrell Glenn, we're going to do this for you. We're going to have this event, and it's going to be an absolute celebration of your life, because the reality, we normally wait till somebody dies to celebrate them, which is a sad, sad reality. We throw them the best party once they're gone. We decide to get to know them when they're not here anymore. And so to have the foresight to get out in front of that and say, hey, we're going to celebrate you and honor you while you're here. Boy, was that a special event and a special evening and a special moment in the life of our church.
He's going to keep on persevering until he sees Jesus face to face.
I think he was born for this purpose, to show people how God can use anybody to bring glory to him.
Like what it says on the back of this shirt here today, that this losing is not an option, which it's not. It's not. No matter what happens, we ain't lost. We ain't lost. I mean, you know, heaven could be, you know, if the Lord does take me, it's going to be grief for my family, I know that. But, I mean, at the end, I mean, it's gain for me.